Andy Frisch, FreshEvolutionFitness.com. I am here once again to help you evolve yourself, evolve your fitness. We're going to talk about some hip flexor stretching, okay? So hip flexors are an area when they start to get tight, they can cause a lot of problems all the way from neck, all the way down to your ankles, right? The body is one big integrated unit. So when the hip flexors start getting tight, they can actually pull on the back of the pelvis, pull that back forward, kind of give you that butt out, stick your butt out posture, right? Which is obviously going to cause a lot of back pain. A lot of times people think they have back issues. It's not really coming from the back. Generally, it's going to come from the hip flexors, and they end up stretching the back to try to make it better, and it actually makes it worse. So what I want you to test and see if your hip flexors are tight. So there's two different stretches we're going to do here, and they are both very similar with one small adjustment that makes all the difference. So two areas of the hip flexors that we're going to hit. We're going to hit the TFL, okay, or the tensor fascial latae. I always say it different. So the TFL here, just kind of on the front corner of the hip, and then your iliopsoas, which is a group of two different muscles that are much thicker and are right here. So like I said, they're hip flexors, which means they're responsible for the knee pulling up, right, for flexing that hip, okay? So the first stretch, both of them are going to start in that same position. Both feet forward. You're going to step back as far as you can comfortably to keep your balance. A lot of times people will overstep, and I'll just tell them to kind of step that front foot back. You are trying to keep your balance and your weight in that back heel in the ground. All right, and just like the calf stretch, check it out if you haven't seen it, the calf stretch video, you're trying to keep that heel on the ground. The leg that's back, you're going to squeeze that glute and that quad, right, to kind of lock that leg in, lock those hips in. So for the TFL, two small differences here. For the TFL, that foot's actually going to come out at about a 45-degree angle, okay? So for the TFL, 45-degree angle. For the iliopsoas, what we're going to do, we'll come back to that neutral. You're actually going to bring the heel out. So you'll pivot on the ball of your foot and bring that heel out. Now, a lot of times the iliopsoas is a big, thick muscle, two big, thick muscles. So like I said, this stretch right here will be enough to feel some tension right there. If you're doing it right, if you're keeping this front quad tight, the back quad and the back glute tight, that hip locked in, just turning your foot out like that really sticks that iliopsoas out, and right there might be a good stretch, okay? So both of these are going to have the exact same maneuvers. It's just that small difference between the foot being out for the TFL and the heel being out for the iliopsoas, all right? Outside of that, what we're going to do, again, squeeze back glute, back quad, and if this right here is an intense stretch, just keep this. One way to tell if you're going too far into a stretch is if you can't breathe deeply, then you're too far into it, right? If you're shallow breathing, back out of it, right? So this right here, first step. If this is okay, but you can go a little bit more into it, second step is you're going to bring that same hand up nice and tall, keeping those hips locked in, right? Arms up nice and tall, in line with your ear, right? So this is step one, or step two technically. Step three, if this still isn't too intense, you're going to, again, keeping those hips nice and stable, and that back quad and the back glute squeezing, you're going to come over. Now, the last and final stretch, if this still isn't too intense, you're going to open that armpit back towards that back heel. And it'll help if you take this front hand, put it on the inside of that thigh, and it'll help to kind of give you the push to open that armpit. And right there, you should feel, if you're tight in that area, a good stretch all the way up and down here and all the way through the hip. Big, nice, big breaths, big, deep breaths. And again, if you can't breathe deep here, you shouldn't be this far into that stretch. When you're done, you want to, it's important here, to first uncorkscrew yourself, then come straight back up and let that arm rest. The reason you want to uncorkscrew and come back straight is because if you just come from this corkscrew position to straight back up like that, you run a good risk of maybe popping something in your back, tweaking something in your spine. So that is it. Hip flexor stretch, guys. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the next one.